Good afternoon, welcome to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on the 2004 Nissan Titan 4x4, 5.6 liter, not 4x4 right now. Typically it's a 4x4. Right now, that's the 4x4 portion. Broke the front diff and waiting on the replacement at the moment. Two-wheel drive currently. Today we are doing tie rods. So tie rods is something that's very important. It takes care of your tire wear. It helps you steer. In fact, that's one of the only reasons you can steer is because you have tie rods. And well, essentially mine are about worn out. I've got a steering wheel shimmy at highway speeds. I've taken everything apart, I've deduced things, and I've come up with it being the tie rods. So we are replacing the tie rods. Now, something that a lot of people do is when they do tie rods, they just do the outer tie rod. Mainly because if you go to a shop, they're gonna charge you a ton of money to do the inners and the outers, and nobody ever tells you you need inners because they rarely supposedly wear out. That's totally fine. If you just want to do the outers, just do the outers. I figure I'm going in for an alignment anyway after I do this. My appointment's scheduled for tomorrow morning, so I'm getting this done today. It's like an extra 30 bucks if you're doing it yourself to buy the inner tie rods, give or take. So it's worth it to me just to replace inners and outers. I don't have to worry about it going forward. I know they're both brand new. I know we're good for a very long time. So that is my thing. The only issue with that is buying new bellows. For some reason, you can't buy new bellows anymore from anybody. They've all pretty much just gone universal. I bought a universal set for this truck and it doesn't fit, so I'm reusing the old bellows. I know they don't fit because I just did the driver's side. I'm going to do the passenger side with you guys. I've been trying to do that a little bit more because the editing process takes forever, so if I can work out the kinks on the first side, the video's a little bit more streamlined, and in the editing process, if I video the first side, you guys see the challenges more in real time. But when I'm editing, I've got tons and tons and tons of blank footage while I'm digging the toolbox for tools. So by doing one side first, I already know what tools I need, and it's way faster to edit. And now that my wife is helping edit, that's important. So we're doing that, and this way, when I run into struggles on that side, I can just tell you about it over here, such as on the driver's side tie rod, the inner tie rod was so seized and rusted into the outer tie rod that I could not bust it loose, and I had to cut it off with a grinder. So we may be doing that on this side, we'll see. I prefer not to do that because you lose your, well, it's just harder to align afterwards, but not a big deal. We still get it. You're paying for an alignment anyway, right? There's not really any special tools you need. Well, there's one special tool you'll need. On most inner tie rods I've replaced, I've been able to use like a crescent wrench or a pipe wrench. On this one, I can't fit in there with a either one of those, so we are using a inner tie rod tool. This I bought on Amazon, and I will share a link down in the description below with you. Remember, if you click on it, if you buy something, it helps me out, so you know, there's that. So we've got that. We've got our tie rods. I will also link, this is your inner, this is your outer, nothing exciting. And as far as tools, we've just got some side cutters, some adjustable pliers, needle nose, crescent wrench, nice size hammer, small hammer, 22 millimeter, and actually this is a 24. And that's really it, and a flathead screwdriver that you can bang on. That's really all the tools, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Quick note, this is not a how to replace your tie rods. This is a how I'm replacing my tie rods. Don't do what I do just because I do it. I'm uneducated in the mechanical world. I am not officially a mechanic or anything to that effect, not an engineer. I'm just a dude trying to make things work without paying somebody else. So that's where we're at. Follow me at your own risk. That said, let's do it. Also important to note, you can do all this on the ground with a jack stand and a jack. I have a lift that I spent a couple $1,000s on. I'm going to use the lift, but you can do it on the ground. You might have to slide under the truck a little bit to get the inner side done, but you can do it. As mentioned before, yours might look a little different. I'm missing a CV axle right here and a differential in there. But you're pretty much working all right here. Here's your outer tie rod. Here is your inner tie rod and your bellows, which we're going to keep. You can make this easier on yourself if you get in the truck and turn the wheels so that this extends out. What that does is it just gets this part closer to you. And in fact, maybe you can, I didn't do that on the other side, maybe you can actually access this without the special tool that way. I don't know, let me know if you find out. We're just gonna use the special tool and go like this. If you turn the steering wheel out so that this tire is out, that makes it really hard to get this boot back on because it's fully extended, so just be careful with that. So we're gonna start with the outer tie rod, which is out here. We're just gonna take our cotter pin out. And to do that, you're gonna straighten the back side of it so you can pull it out. And then we're just going to grab this and pull it out, just like so. Next thing we're gonna do is, this has a 22 millimeter for me, so I'm just gonna grab this and loosen this off. Okay, once you break it loose, you can unspin it. We're in South Dakota, which is fantastic. So about a year from now, this will all be rusted and super hard. So once you know you can get this nut all the way off, go ahead and thread it back on until it's flush with the stud. And then I'm taking a 3-pound hammer, and we're just gonna love tap this here and here, just to kind of help break it loose. So we're gonna go 1, 2, with a 3-pound hammer. You can do more if you want. I'm not going crazy. And then you leave this nut on so you don't damage the threads in case something happens and you need to put this old one back on. We're just gonna go on top and pop it loose. Okay, so now we know this is loose. We're gonna leave that in place for a minute. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try and pop this, this retaining nut loose. So this is gonna try and bounce back on you. Just hold it in place. Might have to use some elbow grease. Oh boy. Bigger wrench. Bigger wrench, you can put just a little bit more weight on the sucker. Leverage. Just like that. Now this is loose. That was on there freaking tight, man. We're not gonna undo that all the way because there's no point. We're gonna end up zipping it down this way eventually. Which brings us into the next part, is unscrewing this. So that's where I struggled on the driver's side. I couldn't get this to unscrew. It was too seized in there, and ended up just cutting this arm, and we might end up doing that again. Another reason to just plan on doing your inners. So you can grab some adjustable pliers here or something and hold it. This is too thin and too rounded. I couldn't hold it strong enough on the other side, and when you start spinning this, the inner tie rod spins with it. I think for my purposes, it's just gonna be easier, in all honesty, to just freaking cut this thing off. In order to do that, I'm gonna take this and put this back up in here and just thread it on a little bit. I'm gonna grab my glasses and my grinder. Once you got it close, because this is loose, you don't want to cut all the way through because it'll go pouncing everywhere. And that could be dangerous with the grinder spinning at 4,000 RPMs or so. Now I'm gonna pull this off and break it just like that. All right, next thing is we got this clamp on the inner boot. I'm just gonna use my needle nosers and pull that off. Just like so. So this is where we take our screwdriver that we don't mind hammering on. There's a metal band on mine. If yours has been replaced before, it's probably a plastic zip tie, and this is super easy. Mine, I don't think has ever been replaced, so it's a metal band. All the goal is just to get that band off without destroying the boot, which is why I use a screwdriver. Just gonna try and hook that. Just try and get under it so that you can stretch it so you can cut it, or at least get it off of here. There we go. Okay, so we are under the band. So now I'm pretty much just getting in there so I can break it. It looks like, unfortunately, I poked a hole in the boot, but we'll survive. Okay, it's now stretched and can come off. So, like I said, we're free on the back side. Now we're just gonna pull this out the best we can. It's probably gonna flip inside out because it's kind of seized in place here. Oh, no, we want to get it. Ah, hey. The other side flipped inside out and it was a pain in the butt getting it back. Boop. All right, there's our boot, mostly not destroyed. We're gonna take this band off and we're not using that again, so. So now, this is your inner tie rod, or what's left of it after we destroyed it. It can't even really hold up its own weight. I don't know if it's supposed to or not. I just replaced them because it's cheap. So there's 2 little grooves on each side, and we're gonna hook into it. Like I said, if you turn the steering wheel, this will come out, and you can probably actually get a tool on it right here. I'm just not, because I don't feel like it, so I'm gonna use my inner tie rod tool. I think this was the 1 7/16. This, we're gonna go ahead and just sit in here in the grooves. We're gonna grab our 1/2" ratchet that we're gonna need. Okay, and then we're gonna grab our inner tie rod tool, get the coupling ready, and we're gonna slide her all in and lock it in place. I use the term lock gently because this thing can kind of frustrate you a little bit. I'm gonna put a ratchet in back and just hit the loosen. Extendo ratchet to the rescue. Maybe. Oh, there it goes. Okay, and that's why I use the tool. It's a pain in the ass, but for something like that, it's super easy, really. And now we have our inner tie rod out. I'm betting this side's actually been replaced. It's got 2 different colors of grease on it. So our new inner tie rod comes with this little washer right here. I'm not entirely sure what it's for. I'm not entirely sure you need it. I think all it is to keep these things from corroding to each other. I think it just separates the 2 metals. I don't know, but we're going to use it because they supplied it, so it fits. If you know what it's for, am I right? Is it just to keep the metals from seizing together? Oh, speaking of seizing together, I almost forgot. We're going to use some anti-seize, and we're just going to drop some in here, just like so. Trying to make my life easier for next time, all the time. And we're just gonna spin this in as far as we can by hand. So our old tie rods took 1 7/16. This new one comes, it takes a 38.4. We're just gonna slap that in place. I'm gonna slide this in, hold it without moving it. Click into the end of the tie rod tool. Tighten. I don't know what torque spec this is. We're just gonna go till it stops moving, essentially. Oh, which is right about there. Unlock, loose term, pull it out, pull your little thingy out, and you're done with that. Now, before you get too excited, we gotta take this little nut off here, or your new tie rod boot is not gonna go on. These have a bunch of power steering fluid in there from, I'm assuming, leaks, so we should be good. We're just gonna slide this in. There's a little spot right here, so you have your spot for your pliers, smooth spot, and then just a little drop. That's where this ends up. Like I said, if you have your steering wheel pulled out, this will be a little bit more difficult because you're going to stretch the boot. If you got your steering wheel pointed in, it's going to be difficult because you're compressing it a lot. So there's that. We're going to grab our little needle nose pliers here. Just like it came off, it's going to go back on. Just like so. And then I need a zipper tire. All right, so for down here, you just got to get this over the ridge. The old boot, because it's still somewhat flexible, this is actually really easy on. If you got a new one, you might be even easier. If you got a super horribly dry rotted one, it'll be harder. We're just gonna take a zip tie of our choice, some red ones that have a pretty good strength to them. And we're going to tighten it in. We'll grab our needle nose and just make sure it's a little bit tighter. Important thing to not forget at this point is putting your tension nut, your tightening nut, whatever you want to call this nut, back on here. Make sure that's on there. This nut looks like it is not square. It's most definitely not square. We're going to flip it over. We want the flattest side. Oh no, this looks horrible. Final goal with your tie rod, on this Titan anyway, is it goes straight and then it dips in towards the knuckle. That's your final end. It goes up, not down and out. It goes in and up. These grease zerks can be a royal pain in the butt to install once it's in place because you're upside down and if you don't have a lift. We're gonna thread those on right now, right there. Okay, and we're just gonna move this and thread this on. Now, if you are smart, or if you were only doing the outside when you pull it off, if you were able to pull it off, you count the turns. So you got, well, it would be sitting like that. So you'd do 1 turn, 2 turn, all the way till you get it off. This is backwards, I'm tightening, not loosening. And then you put your new one on, the same amount of turns, and your alignment should be fairly close, and your alignment guy will not hate you so much. I didn't do that because I had to cut mine, so we're just going to tape measure it or eyeball it to the best of our ability, and maybe we'll tip the alignment guy a little bit. These studs always come at 90-degree angle. I find it way easier if you push them in just a little bit. Like so. This comes with a new cotter pin. not cotter pin, castle nut. Cotter pin too, but comes with a castle nut. I don't know what the torque spec is. We're just gonna go tight. So this has a little hole for the cotter pin to go through. We're gonna go till this doesn't really tighten up much more, and then just a little more, a little less, whatever it takes to get that to line up with the castle nut. All right, so we're going to slide this cotter pin in, grab our needle nose, and you can do this however you want. I don't care how you do it. All this is to do is just to keep this castle nut from being able to back out. That's all you're doing. So twist this however your heart pleases. And don't let nobody in the comments tell you that there's a right way or wrong way unless they can back it up with hard data. So that's in. Now you're gonna tighten your nut right here. So as long as you like where your alignment is, you can go ahead and tighten this in as much as you can. Again, I don't know torque specs. Don't know how you do it anyway. The only other thing is, don't forget to grease. I got a nice fancy gun I just bought that's super fun. And then I got this old-fashioned one that's still super awesome. And then after you're done greasing, I'm going to visually line this up. I'm not gonna tape measure it. I'm not gonna laser it. I'm just gonna visually line it up because I'm taking it in for an alignment. I'm just gonna get it close. I'm not going crazy. So this is like almost perfectly straight here, and this is slightly pointed in. So all I'm gonna do is come back in here, and I'm gonna spin this off a little bit. And then if you tighten this, it's going to thread into the outer tie rod, which is going to suck it in. We don't want to do that because we're already pointed in. So I'm going to loosen this. I'm just going to put my channel locks right here and spin it loosened, and that'll push this tire out until we visually like it. We go in for alignment, and that guy will fix the rest of my problems for me. But right now, that's what we're doing, and that's all there is to it. So if you like this video, if this video helped you in any way, smash the thumbs up so I know. Hit the subscribe button. There's a bunch of videos on the Titan and a lot more coming. I got plenty of other vehicles with videos. I've got 170 some videos uploaded on YouTube now, so check them out, share them, subscribe, thumbs up, check out the Amazon links below, and there's also a PayPal link if you feel so inclined. Thanks to those of you who have donated. That makes this stuff showing you guys buying the cameras so much easier to do. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Anyway, enjoy, get in alignment, and have a good day.